You gave it a shot. You tried to go straight, but you've got your father's blood pumping through your veins.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of February 20th, 2022. This is episode 165. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. So I put the poll out there. The poll being, let me just bring it back up here. Given the opportunity, would you live in Story Living by Disney, the new development project that Disney has announced that they are going to be planning across the country? First one being in California, in the Valley. And it seems quite interesting. So I wanted to know if given the opportunity that you'd live there. The answers being, absolutely. I need to find out more. Not interested? Or never heard of it. And out of all of you that voted, no one said that they didn't hear of it. So the news has gotten out there. Everyone that responded had heard of it. 6% of you said you were not interested. So 6% don't want to deal with it. Okay, get that. 31% said absolutely. So a good chunk of you, about 1/3, says absolutely you want to go there. Go check it out. And the vast majority of 63% of you said that you want to find out more. And I'm kind of in that same boat. I want to hear more. What I've heard so far sounds amazing. Sounds quite interesting. There's a lot of possibility there. A lot of things that sound like it could be fun. It could be interesting. It could be a nice place to live. But I still need more to make that kind of dedication. And I'm sure this will not come cheap. You gotta find out more, and I understand that. And some of you are ready to jump right in, and I could get that too. You don't sign me up, I'm ready to go. So I find it interesting Disney stepping their foot back into the development stage area, and we shall see where it goes from there. Besides that, this Tuesday was 2/22/22, so happy 2/22/22 Tuesday to everyone who celebrated, especially at 10:22 p.m., which would make it 2/22 on 2/22/22 on Tuesday. And on that bombshell, we'll be back after these messages from our friends and sponsors for part 2 of our discussion of Book of Boba Fett, picking up exactly where we left off last week. And now, on with the show.
Worried now that Disney has to figure out how to juggle now, because not everybody is going to watch those animated series for what reason or another, to be able to figure out. Because I think there was another situation too in the Bad Batch. Wasn't Boba Fett's sister introduced?
Yes.
Technically.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm sorry. See.
You
can make an
Hold on
argument.
your definition.
She's a main character, so it's not really a spoil.
Okay.
I was going to say, I was hoping during one of those flashbacks when he was a child, you didn't have to see the face, you just see a tuft of blonde curly hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, again, it's a lot of either you're trusting in your audience that has watched almost all of your material to understand what's going on. But I'm kind of guessing that I want to assume that a lot of the people, or maybe this is just, maybe I'm wrong, maybe because I'm assuming when it comes to Disney Plus and when you're trying to make Star Wars a broad general audience for everybody, a lot of these people are not going to know a lot of these characters going back forward.
And
I could be wrong. I mean, this might be just for Star Wars.
You're actually right, because I'm going to tell you honestly. We watched the show. We watched the episode with the fight scene between Cad Bane and Boba Fett, and Emily turned to me and said, "That was it." You said, tell me what you said before. What you said to me the other night.
I don't remember.
Oh, you basically said to me, you wanted more of Cad Bane than Boba Fett.
That wasn't a satisfying ending to me. Towards trying not to spoil. Towards the end of Bad Batch, you get a more satisfying. Not really satisfying, but like. It made sense more for Cad Bane to be stuck somewhere than to die.
Yeah.
It just
right. I was actually disappointed.
But the thing was, I said, no, this was good because you do have this backstory between Cad Bane and Boba Fett in Clone Wars, but you needed to take a little bit of that and put more of it into this series so that when you have the final confrontation between the two, you feel something.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think there was enough of Cad Bane in this. It wasn't until I stopped and thought about Clone Wars that I was able to go, okay, now I'm satisfied, as opposed to telling an emotional story on this series.
Yeah.
It was just a couple of lines that Cad Bane just, we did this before. Wasn't Cad Bane the one that put the dent in the helmet?
Yes.
So,
that's what I've heard.
I wouldn't know that.
I've heard that too. That's what I've read. But
I wouldn't know that.
I'm
the general audience.
What did you guys think of the design and the look of Cad Bane coming into the series?
Hat's too small, to quote you.
Yeah, the hat was the hat was too small.
Besides the hat, I thought he looked great.
I thought Cad Bane looked dope. I thought a character that I did not know any, like you said, you're coming from a guy who's never heard of Cad Bane up to that point. The way he strolled up in episode 6, man, he looked badass. I was like, yo, this is a dope character. Again, I wish they introduced this character earlier in the series. Because I was like, this is a pretty badass character. You know, only for him to get clapped in the end of the series.
Both of you have an assignment.
Oh, man.
And, I mean, I already did it, but you two of you have an assignment. Emily could back me up on this. Go watch The Bad Batch.
I'll get there.
Yes,
I will see it.
I will.
It was one of the shows that I want to check out. There's a lot of ones. I also want to check out the Japanese animated anthology with that too, because I haven't had an opportunity to check that out though. But yeah, again, it goes to. I feel like when you're talking about like a show like Boba Fett, this is really kind of meant to the hardcore fans that have watched all of your properties up to this point, for you to get those references. And to me, the guy who's coming in cold, like, I have no clue what's happening. I don't know much about their back history. There's a lot of assumption. I feel like the writers are throwing a lot of trust into more to more hardcore. I feel like this is a show made for hardcore audience, and it kind of leaves the guys' general audience to me out of the cold unless I'm not watching everything on Disney Plus, which maybe that was their intention to. I don't know.
Always.
No, I don't think so. I think I agree. I think Cad Bane should have. You could have told a much better story bringing Cad Bane into the series earlier and making the series more about Cad Bane's. That actually would have made it way cooler if suddenly
his relationship with Boba Fett.
If it's not so, it's not just, they want this emotional tie because the Pikes wiped out the Tusken Raiders. But if you add into that Cad Bane's involvement with the Pikes, and to have Cad Bane still, sort of. I'm sorry, my mind is going here. But if you have Cad Bane still as in that sort of former mentor role going, you're nothing, you were never nothing, you were born in nothing, you're going to die in nothing on this backwards planet, just constantly pushing Boba Fett down, almost more that kind of Cobra Kai sort of storyline. Boba Fett in that, or Cad Bane in that role, just sort of constantly pushing Boba Fett down no matter what Boba Fett does, to finally have Boba Fett, to finally have a standoff between the two, that's much more emotionally satisfying.
Okay.
And you could have told that story, or if Cad Bane had been involved with the death of the Tusken Raiders, and it just drive the hatred between these two men.
Yeah.
You could have told a much more emotionally satisfying story.
And to play off a little bit of that, I think going back to just Boba Fett being more of I wouldn't mind seeing a more ruthless Boba Fett character too. I mean, you're fighting to control Tatooine. Like, this is your battle, man. And I would have loved to see more of a ruthless version of Boba Fett. When Cad comes in, it could have been a battle between ruthless, badass versus ruthless character. I could have loved to see the economy of those two, to see what depths will Boba Fett go to prove that not only my name not only should be feared as a bounty hunter, but should also be feared as a crime lord. I would have loved to see that. And then maybe, in the beginning with the Mandalorian back in the day, where now maybe Mando comes into the situation and is like, he kind of notices, like, dude, you're becoming a little bit more ruthless. I think that could have been an interesting dichotomy between now Mandalorian and Boba Fett, even in maybe spreading the seeds in this series, and then maybe Mandalorian 3, where Mando might have to deal with Boba Fett at some point, because now Boba Fett's getting a little bit too more power hungry than he normally is. That could have been an interesting dichotomy than everybody kind of being friends at the moment. I mean, I think there's a lot too much friends. I think you got to also build up a lot of your villains too. I think villains have, because again, villains I think have just as much as compelling stories as just as your protagonists right now. And I think people love a good anti-hero too. People love to root for a good anti-hero, and I think they kind of missed it out with Boba Fett. Yeah,
they could have easily. Did we need the Pikes?
No.
Did the Pikes need to be the adversary, or could we have just done it with one of the other families and keep it
within the family,
keep it closer to home, something that more direct. It's one of the other syndicates, or even the mayor. I think that would have been a fantastic
I would have
direction.
Done with the mayor.
The mayor is bringing in these bounty hunters to get rid of Boba. He brings in Black Santa. Or we could have had actually the Hutts bring in Black Santa, because I think that was great. Kept that angle of the story, but the mayor's the one that brought in Cad Bane. Bring him in earlier, like episode 4, and and work the story that way.
Yeah. Like the mayor should have been like corrupt in the sense that
he was corrupt, but he wasn't corrupt enough.
He wasn't. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like he wasn't he
was a wimpy corrupt.
He wasn't really throwing around his muscle to a point that where Boba Fett can be ruthless and go after the mayor, and then he takes out the mayor and is like, now I'm the baddest BS here in Tatooine situation. Like, I think that would have made a very interesting character that again could have flowed back into the Mandalorian Ahsoka, because now we have to deal with now we have to deal with this, and now we got to deal with Boba Fett on the side right now, who's starting to gain a lot of power. That could have been very interesting for series moving ahead.
And and we don't get the rest of the families. We don't get the heads of the families until episode 4.
Right.
And then we're off world at that point.
It was like, the Hutts are a threat. No, they're not. We're just you know what, we even the Hutts got bored with the show and decided,
sorry,
you know what?
This isn't what we signed up for.
Fight you for the crime. We are the rightful heirs. You know what? You can have it. Good luck, buddy.
Flashbacks. That's not what
this place is gone.
Yeah. The Hutts gave up and decided to.
But I'm not sure if I mentioned, posing the question to you guys, are we running into a Marvel issue with these series now?
I kind of have a slight fear about Obi-Wan now, because I do keep asking myself, do we need to tell the story of what happens to Obi-Wan on Tatooine?
Yeah.
We know where Obi-Wan is supposed to be. We know what Obi-Wan is supposed to be doing. I kind of like the idea of Obi-Wan really just kind of sitting in a hut for 15 years.
Yeah.
Or 10
Seems
years,
very
whatever it
Obi-Wan.
is, 15 years, I think, waiting for, and then finally coming into contact with Luke and being like, oh, you know what, maybe it's time.
This is a project that they've been working on since Solo.
Right.
This was going to be the follow-up movie to Solo, and then when Solo didn't grow legs initially, they canned it, and that's when they canned all the one-offs movies. So this is something, and Ewan McGregor himself has been championing this. He's the one that who brought the idea to Lucas at that time.
It's tough because I like Ewan McGregor as an actor, one, and two, I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. He does a fantastic job. He's really, really fantastic in the role.
Yeah.
But I'm so nervous about watching. I don't think there's a story there that needs to be told.
Yeah.
The story, if there is a story there that needs to be told, they already, spoiler alert radar, they already told that on Rebels.
Yeah.
But they're going past Rebels.
There's not much time past Rebels.
Yeah.
This is oh yeah, Rebels. I'm thinking Clone Wars. That's what I'm sorry. This is past Clone Wars.
They tell the only thing that needs to be paid off is the final confrontation between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. And they do that in an episode of Rebels. They do it beautifully in an episode of Rebels.
And did I remember? I think they covered this in the comic books too. That they've already squared off a couple of times, even past then. So, unless they're going to be digging from those books to borrow from that again for general audiences that's watched it, I think that's totally fine. I think the bigger issue right now for a lot of these series is just these series are starting off way too slow. Again, they gotta get people hooked, line, and sinker quick. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. And like you said, I think you're starting to you're experiencing that. It's the Star Wars and in the Marvel shows right now and Disney right now, where I think they're relying way too much on fan. What's the word I'm looking for?
Fan service.
Fan service to kind of get them through a lot of these episodes and not focus on building compelling characters that I want to come back and watch right now. Because like I said, there's a lot of that plot. There's very little plots to a lot of these shows at the moment. And it is. So I am a little getting concerned. The more that I talk about it with you guys, I am starting to get a little bit concerned about the Obi-Wan situation right now. They got to get out. They got to.
Because I think there's a story there to be told.
Ahsoka actually has a story that they set up in Rebels.
Right.
And so I'm not afraid for Ahsoka, but
I hope so.
And not just that, you're not trying to shoehorn it in between other two stories. This is Ahsoka now several years on from Rebels and stuff. I am going to throw this question out here in the universe. Matt, you brought this up at one point that I think it was you, that they were looking to cast an Ezra character.
And he is cast.
Yeah.
What's to stop him from actually showing up in Kenobi? We're assuming it's going to be Ahsoka.
Is that no, because he's like 6 years older.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also because they've told that story. Watch Rebels.
Yes.
I'll go watch Bad Batch. You go watch Rebels.
All right.
And
I have a lot more episodes than you do.
And to jump back onto the Ahsoka series, again, I think people are so confident with that because again, it's coming. Again, I think it's coming from again diehard Star Wars fans that have watched previous episodes. So you know what to expect moving in. Coming from a guy who has not watched any, who doesn't. Again, I know a little bit of Ahsoka, but not enough that I don't know her back series. Again, Disney Plus has a lot of general audiences that you have to try to bring in. They may not go back and watch the cartoons. They may not go back and watch the animated stuff. So there's a delicate balance that you have to be able to hook in with Ahsoka as well. They all kind of fall into that same trap right now that Disney has to be careful of.
The one thing with Ahsoka is that because she is from this series, and actually two series, that there is so much more of that character that's been established to draw upon and move forward.
Yeah.
where Fett not necessarily fails, but struggles.
She's had more of a growth and a character arc.
Yeah.
Probably almost more than almost any other Star Wars character. She's got an incredible arc to her,
which is why it's
yeah.
And then she comes in season 2 in Rebels, and then you have.
And she's got this tie to Anakin.
Yeah.
Again, and I agree. Again, but you guys are speaking as diehard Star Wars fans that followed her up to this point. You got to think about the general audience right now, who's watching this stuff, may not know scrap about Ahsoka. So if you're going into that series with the same pacing that you're doing right now with Boba Fett, people may be turned off by this character. Granted, she's been introduced already in The Mandalorian and now in Boba Fett. Like, you have to be careful about the balance that they're introducing.
Here's where I'm gonna be cold and mean, which is Disney already has your $70. Do they really need to cater to you?
Well,
I mean, they've got your money for your Disney Plus subscription. Do they really need to?
Well, yeah, because this is why I'll fight back a little bit on.
If I were a Disney executive, my response to you would be, Clone Wars is there. It's on Disney Plus. These are the episodes you need to watch.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to spin it that way, because if you go into the Star Wars portal, there is already a list of Ahsoka Essential episodes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yes, we have your $70, but like you said, the way they're going to spin it is, well, we already have it here for you. You can go ahead and
I think Ahsoka, where Boba Fett is aimed at people who have been Star Wars fans for 40 years and love Boba Fett, Ahsoka is aimed at people who love. I don't think Ahsoka is aimed at the general public. I think Ahsoka really is aimed at fans of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess I will throw into
your danger.
Is that going to be
your
enough?
danger with Obi-Wan is that Obi-Wan, more people do know. You're right, absolutely. More people do know who Obi-Wan is, and they go, "Okay, Obi-Wan Kenobi, cool. I know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. I'll watch that." Wait.
Oh, it's Ewan McGregor back in the part.
And then
all your '90s kids who grew up with the prequels,
these Clone War characters. If you do it with Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's a little bit harder. But I think Ahsoka is aimed squarely at
hardcore
fans of Ahsoka Tano and people who have followed, people who are watching Ahsoka are people who have been watching Clone Wars and Rebels, whereas people who have been watching, who are looking at Obi-Wan or Boba Fett are people who know those characters from the movies and haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels, and that's your distinction and that's your difference.
And I agree to that. And Emily, back me up here. I would argue that Ahsoka has become the most popular character in Star Wars.
I would
creation.
Maybe not the most popular characters, but definitely.
Well, I said arguably.
Yeah, she's one of the. Yeah. Like I said a few minutes ago, she's got one of the stronger arcs in all of Star Wars. She's a fully developed character.
Yeah.
With depth to her, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do with her. I'm just really looking to see some of the characters from Rebels in live action personally, because I'm.
Well, we've had 2, so we're going for
2?
Well, not
Chopper.
Well, one kind of from Clone Wars. The one that's trying to get the Blacksaber.
Bo-Katan, right?
Yeah.
I forgot about her. Okay, I'll give you 2.
So she, I knew of Ahsoka by name and recognition. You could, she's a very distinct looking character. So I know who she was until last year. And then last year, when they released the final episodes of Clone Wars, I did a pick through of essential Clone Wars episodes and then watched the final season and immediately fell in love with that character. I mean, she just pulled me in and again skyrocketed to one of my, if not, my favorite, one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I just can't get enough of her for whatever reason it is. She is such a fantastic, fantastic character. I could justify a standalone series, multiple season series of her.
Yeah.
Right.
and then we'll start bringing in more characters from the expanded universe, like Admiral Thrawn and all that, into the live action realm. I think that makes sense. These other ones, even Book of Boba Fett, is, we know he's a popular character. We're going to give you a series. And they can't honestly say we have a substantial enough information or just a plot that works great. We just need something to fill the time between, Series A and Series C.
I think
saying it's an awful series. I'm just saying.
And the other thing going into Ahsoka is you have a built-in, like, sort of what we were saying earlier. We said, okay, what is Book of Boba Fett? If I asked you guys if I had asked you guys 8 weeks ago what each of the three of you thought Book of Boba Fett was going to be about, I don't know, maybe this, maybe it's about that. I don't know. I know it would be sort of what you would all, your answers would each be what you'd like to see in Boba Fett more than what the actual series is. If I ask you, and I can ask you guys right now, I'll ask as a little experiment. What do you guys think Obi-Wan is about?
Isaac?
Anyone? Go.
Alone.
When I think about Obi-Wan, basically from what after the events of episode 3, I would just assume that this was just a Jedi dude kind of wandering. Honestly, I would think he was just a Jedi dude wandering in the desert pretty much, and hopefully maybe protecting Luke in some form of way. That would be my general honest, because that's my only thing that I kind of remember. And maybe him just kind of hiding from everybody and maybe doing small odd jobs until the events of Anakin kind of pops up, or Darth Maul pops up. But I would think it's just like kind of one of the last Jedi, just kind of hiding out, doing like small, almost kind of like the Jack Reacher of the series, kind of doing here odd jobs until like a guy trying to run away from his past and not reveal himself to being a Jedi. It would be my guess based on the knowledge that I know of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All right, Radar, what do you think? Matt, what do you? Okay, we can chalk another one on the list of times I've called you Radar on the podcast. I worked so hard. To not do that. I'm so sorry.
You guys haven't gotten off track.
Hey, thanks.
Hey,
Matt, what do you think? What do you think Obi-Wan is about?
He's a Disney character.
Now, yeah.
Yes. And Klinger is a princess. Yes, we know this.
Sure.
Yeah, it's
from
my understanding of what I can piece together this thing's going to be is after episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, we got Obi-Wan's now overseeing from a distance Luke's upbringing and just kind of being a general guardian.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, there's other stuff going on in the universe with the rise of the Empire and the fall of the New Republic that he's going to end up somehow getting pulled into. What and how? I mean, obviously he is a known person on Tatooine because people know, oh yeah, the hermit, old Ben.
Crazy Ben.
Yeah.
Right. So basically what you've all told me is that Obi-Wan is going to be about old guy wandering the desert, which sounds like compelling television to me.
Well, if you look at the poster that they just released, that's what it was. So I did see someone
Old Man Wandering in Desert.
Which someone animated
that should be the title, Old Man Wandering in Desert.
Subtitle.
On Disney Plus.
Kenobi. The old man who.
Didn't we just watch that season already? Didn't we already watch that season already in another show in Boba Fett? Old Man Wandering in Desert.
Didn't I have to read that book in high school?
I watched 4 episodes. Dude, I watched 4 episodes of that already in Boba Fett.
Isn't that Ernest Hemingway?
We're all sitting here saying Book of Fett is the slowest Disney series ever, and Obi-Wan's like, hold my blue milk.
Okay. Revision.
Right, M's got some. Go.
Instead of an old man wandering the desert, I want to see an old man playing with sand.
Fair enough. Okay, now here's the other thing. Okay, so that's Obi-Wan. Here's why I'm more concerned. I'm more about Ahsoka. And forgive me, Isaac. I'm gonna kind of exclude you from this conversation for a second because I know that I know the answer I'm gonna get from both of these two, Emily and Matt. Because I know Isaac. Because I know you said you haven't followed Rebels or Clone Wars, the animated stuff that much. Okay.
I got you.
All right, Matt and Emily. What is Ahsoka about? What is Ahsoka most likely going to be about? You guys already know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Somewhat. So go ahead.
Ladies first.
Finding Ezra.
Right, and who's with him?
And Thrawn.
So you already know.
Thrawn.
So you already know your MacGuffin, and you already know your villain.
Yeah.
You already have those things. You already have a focus for this show. I'm less worried about Ahsoka. Like I said, I think Ahsoka is aimed squarely at the people who have been watching the animated stuff. Boba Fett and Obi-Wan are kind of like, well, people, you go into it thinking, well, I've seen Star Wars. I know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. I know who Boba Fett is. And if you haven't seen those animated things, but like you said, Isaac, yeah, if you haven't seen those animated things, it does exclude you from the party a little bit. Yeah. I think that's a problem that Disney has by and large, because Matt, you and I talked about this, not on the show, but privately we talked about this. With when they did the Muppets Haunted Mansion, was it? I love the Muppets. I'm sitting here literally looking at a shelf full of Muppet action figures. I'm in my puppet building workshop. I grew up with the Muppets. I adore the Muppets. I met Jim Henson when I was 6 years old. I absolutely love the Muppets. I didn't care much for Muppet Haunted Mansion because I'm not a Haunted Mansion fan. I don't go to the Disney parks, and a lot of the gags and a lot of the ideas that were part of the Muppet Haunted Mansion were lost on me because I haven't been on the Haunted Mansion in 2005 was the last time I was in Disney. So it was 16 years in between because it was just after Christmas 2005 was the last time I was in Disney. And I think I might have ridden the Haunted Mansion then maybe. So if I hadn't, then you're talking 20 years, about 15 years since I've been on the Haunted Mansion. I don't remember anything of it. There you go. We've jumped topic another time. Here's another one for you. Sorry.
Here's what I know. You guys excluded me out of the Oscar, and I'm totally fine with that. But here's where I'll throw something at you guys. It's funny because the same company that does Star Wars, that I feel like is struggling with these characters, is the same company that was able to introduce us to the MCU. Remember, there were a lot of characters we did not know a lot about. I mean, generally, as good geeks that we are, we knew, but the general audiences really didn't know about Ant-Man or Black Panther or a lot of those cats a little bit. And we're able to set up these really great stories to be able to kind of introduce us. So I feel like it's weird with Disney, they were able to kind of figure out with MCU, and with Star Wars, they're seeming to have a bit of an issue with.
Matt, I can see you're ready to jump on this. You go ahead and then I'll add in.
Yeah.
No, you first.
Disney didn't do that. Yeah. Disney didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
Marvel did that. Marvel was doing. Disney bought Marvel.
Well, yes.
Marvel was doing that. Yeah. Because Disney had no idea. And then Marvel took what was really at the time a C-list character, which was Iron Man. Iron Man really wasn't selling comics. He really wasn't a character they were pushing.
And then it became a blockbuster.
And it became huge. It became huge. And then they threw that little scene in at the end where Sam Jackson walks in as Nick Fury and goes, "What do you know about the Avengers Initiative?" And you're like, "Oh, there's a bigger thing." And then suddenly Robert Downey Jr. walks into that scene
Incredible Hulk.
The scene at the end of Hulk.
Ross, yes.
Sits down with Ross and goes, "We're putting a team together." Sorry, I don't do a Tony Stark impression. But he says, "We're putting a team together." What do you mean? What do you mean we? I don't do a Thunderbolt Ross either, apparently. I'll stop doing voices now. Let me just do the rest of this as Fozzie Bear. Look.
No.
Yes. No. I
forgotten
what I was. Fozzie Bear.
Yeah, but I mean, that was Marvel who was doing that, and Disney realized, like, oh, we can capitalize on this. There's money to be made here, and that's when Disney purchased Marvel. Disney, here's the thing. I have a few friends who have worked with Disney and have worked for Disney. I have a friend of mine told me this years ago. He was literally in a meeting with Disney executives, and one of this Disney executive looked at him and said, "I'm sorry, we're not a creative company."
That's true.
I mean, they are.
I'm not shocked.
Job. They're a marketing company, not a creative company. That's become the problem with Disney. It's not, it's tough. Now the good thing there is a little bit of symmetry. There is that you have the one person we can credit there was Jon Favreau. Yeah. Who was the director of Iron Man. He was the one who put all that together. The man is himself a huge geek and clearly loves the stuff, loves Marvel, knows Marvel, and was able to have input there, loves Star Wars, knows Star Wars, and is able to have, he is both in Marvel and in Star Wars, he is on the same level as Dave Filoni in terms of his knowledge and his love for it. Mm-hmm. So it's a little disappointing that he's given us Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. That Boba Fett came from the two of them. But I want to jump the conversation sideways to something because I did read this the other day and I thought it was interesting. And I will say this for Boba Fett. While I complain about this idea that they didn't need to do all that stuff with the Tusken Raiders, I guess from a cultural warrior standpoint, you do humanize native peoples.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, the Tusken Raiders have always been these kind of the ideas. They're the native people of Tatooine, and they've always been painted as savages and brutal killers, and they kidnap Anakin's mother and they kill her, and they shoot at the pod races for no reason at all, and they beat the daylights out of Luke for no reason at all, and a little bit in Mandalorian, but more here in Boba Fett, you do see them as a tribe of people who are surviving and how they survive. They do to survive, and so it does, it doesn't it does a very good job of unmarginalizing, native individuals and native tribes. So I just points to from a cultural warrior standpoint, points to Boba Fett for that.
It wasn't the dance more akin to a New Zealand dance. Even the weapon was more really back of New Zealand weaponry, right?
The New Zealand is that what? No. There's something. The dance is called. It's a haka dance.
It's a haka.
The warrior dance.
It's a warrior dance. It's a haka, which is a badass dance.
Kind of that fighting style that is dance and fighting style. It's you're doing this dance, but there's all of this fighting martial arts that is in there.
You're talking capoeira? Capoeira from Brazil. Capoeira from Brazil.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
You're probably thinking of that.
No, you're right. You're right. There's an Australian thing that's very similar as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I just noticed, like, when you were talking about the humanizing part, I was kind of focused on the dancing element of it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's interesting that we're able to, again, part of the idea of bringing culture and humanizing them. I thought that was a really cool part about that.
So I gripe about it being an extraordinarily slow thing that slowed down this series. As I said, from a culture warrior standpoint, points to Boba Fett for that. That is a good thing that they did.
Yeah. Well, and I'll back that up.
But that doesn't make up. Well, I was going to say, Cad Bane's hat is still too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides the hat, I was going to.
What do you think of these? Because they've been doing more and more of these with Mandalorian. These cameos that are like the character actor cameos, the kind of Amy Sedaris and Danny Trejo and that kind of, these guys kind of coming in and sort of horning in on our Star Wars. What do you guys think of that? Because I have very mixed feelings about it.
And Jennifer Beals.
Jennifer Beals.
No, but Jennifer Beals was, which is funny, the woman for Flash, she was more episodes, so she at least had something to do. It's not like
she had a purpose. And
it's not like Danny Trejo just popped up for one episode and bounced,
Yeah.
I mean, she did blow up the screen, but she had a.
I mean, I don't really have an issue with it. Again, just because, like, if you're into the series, and I know a lot of them are like friends with a lot, didn't Rodriguez direct an episode? He was part of a couple of episodes, so I know they're all kind of all they're all buddy buddies. They're all buddy buddies together. So to me, that really didn't bother me in terms of if they're gonna pop up. I mean, if like I said, like Jennifer Beals' character at least had some lines in it and had some status into it. Granted, it wasn't as great as you want, but she was at least a part of the storytelling of Boba Fett.
And this is nothing new either.
It's not that big a deal.
They did this in the movies as well, where you had other people, friends of friends or whatever.
George Lucas or whoever would be in.
Would show up somewhere.
One of the great ones to jump topics a little bit. One of the great ones to come out of the Marvel Universe was that Paul Bettany voiced Jarvis as a favor to Jon Favreau.
Yep.
Jon Favreau's like, I'm doing this movie. Why don't you come voice this character for me? And it was, what was a half-day voiceover job was turned into this 10-year acting job. But I think the thing, the one that it's Amy Sedaris, and there are a few others that I've seen. I think the difference with Jennifer Beals is that Jennifer Beals is not a comedian; she's an actress, and so she comes in and she just plays the part. Whereas Amy Sedaris is a comedian, and you can see her being funny and being a character and trying to be a character and trying to be funny, and that style of comedy really bothers me. I see it all too frequently and all too often.
It's funny because you have guest actors like Bill Bird, who I thought nailed it out of the park, was Mandalorian, especially that scene was beautiful, which I thought was fantastic. And he's a comedian. He was able to get real serious and really. I thought that was one of the better parts of that season.
And I don't think he didn't bother me because, again, not a comedian, an actor playing a character. I have a problem with when they bring in comedians to play these. Look at me, I'm a comic character in Star Wars, and it's almost kind of winking at the camera that Ricky Gervais does that a lot. Yeah, thank God. Thank God they haven't hit Star Wars yet, but I think it's a matter of time. Where it's that sort of wink at the camera, and I see Amy Sedaris very aware of the fact that she's like, I'm being a funny character with
in
funny
the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
She didn't bother me a lot. I mean, the only reason why she didn't bother me a lot because again, she was already introduced in the Mandalorian, and they already.
She bothered me on the Mandalorian too.
Oh, she did. Okay.
And I hate to say it because it makes it sound like I don't want to make it sound like I don't like female comedians. I do like female comedians. It's male comedians who do this as well. Like I said, Ricky Gervais is another one. Jim Carrey a little bit. He's gotten a little bit better over the years, where they're very aware of I'm a comedian and I'm on camera, and therefore I need to be doing something funny. That sort of style of comedy really kind of bothers me.
Yeah. Well, I
feel like there was another one in Mandalorian that did that. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember now, but yeah, the Amy Sedaris character just bothers me.
Yeah,
right, I'm sorry. That was my mild rant. I'm done.
Well, I was gonna say, but you point out that Matt Berry voiced the droid.
Matt Berry didn't bother me. Well, because Matt Berry is a voice actor,
right?
And it wasn't this kind of look at me, I'm Matt Berry in a show. He was doing, and Richard Ayoade, who's another comedic actor, British comedic actor, was the voice of Zero in Mandalorian. And he was fantastic. I heard it, and I realized it took me, I think it was halfway through the episode, I realized who he was. I went, oh, it's Richard Ayoade, and I fell in love with the character almost immediately just because it was Richard Ayoade, and his abilities and comic abilities were used very well in Mandalorian.
And Taika Waititi as the IG-11.
Yes, I didn't even know that Taika. Oh, there's that. See, he's another one. There you go. He was in Thor. I felt he was very look at me, I'm on camera being funny.
Yeah.
In fact, I felt like all of Thor was look at me, look at us, we're on camera being funny. Somebody told Chris Hemsworth he could do comedy, he was very funny when he didn't know he could do comedy, and then when he realized he could do comedy, it ruined him.
Well, that's how they made Airplane.
Right. Well, yeah. See, now I'm not falling into your trap, Matt Graken. I'm not jumping off topic. Yes, please, Isaac. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
I was actually going to go back and answer Isaac's question about Disney being the ones that had put out Marvel. Like Matt said, Marvel put out Marvel. Another difference, I think, between the two, that Marvel is introducing characters that have not been in a live action setting before and starting them from point A and moving them forward. And I think this is where we had a problem with Black Widow. Black Widow was one that actually took a step backwards.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, part of the reason why it didn't really sit with me. Everything else was pushing the world for the universe.
There were no stakes.
But I think we're and I agree with that. I think what I was trying to come with the Marvel angle was, again, we're all hardcore people know the characters, whether that was from Marvel or Disney. However, even if you want to give the credit to Marvel and able to establish, whoever you want to give the credit to be able to pull off the MCU, I don't think that's where my argument. I think they were able to work together to take characters that we know, the hardcore, well-established geek community that follow those, and we're able to figure a way to translate it to a bigger general audience that may not have the knowledge base that we have developed for such characters. That's where the argument I was trying to go with, where I feel like within the same boat, they were able to figure out with Marvel. I feel like they're struggling a little bit with Star Wars in trying to figure out that same magic. I feel like they were trying to figure out that same balance. I guess where I'm figuring, I feel like it's working because I feel like there's a little bit of crossover with some of the teams that are able to do it with MCU, but I feel like they haven't really gotten their footing down with the Star Wars universe. That's where I was trying to go with that.
But there's a precedence to that. And this is, I think, exactly to your point exactly. As comic book fans, we are used to getting the characters reintroduced to us in either different mediums or even within the comic book form every so often.
Right.
Every so often, the X-Men reinvent themselves and you get a new start over. And so we're used to getting a new, okay, all right, so this is the new chunk of it and this is how the story is going to go. So getting that in the movies was old hat because reading X-Men comics and then you watch the X-Men animated series and then you got the X-Men movie. We recognize them as three different things. So in our head, it's already built in. This is just a restart. You've never had that in Star Wars. And now you're taking established characters and trying to figure out how do we move forward? Because basically for Marvel, is it the same character, but it's the same name, but it's a new character.
Right. You're reintroducing Hawkeye, you're reintroducing Black Widow, you're reinventing Captain America. Right. The other thing, though, that I'm finding is, and I've said this a couple times here on the show, is that Marvel has been around 10 years, and it's starting to lose its luster for me for that same problem. It's getting too bogged down in, I kind of want the Marvel movies and the Marvel shows to go away for a little while. It's too much for me, and I do feel that same kind of like I have to remember. I know Baron Zemo was in a movie and he did something in the movie, but I haven't watched that movie in forever, and now I've got to remember exactly what happened to Baron Zemo when he shows up.
It's a lot.
And this is what I'm saying. Is Star Wars now starting to suffer from that?
Yeah. And I mean, and comic books themselves also always kind of suffer for that. The only thing is in the comic books, there's always that little footnote in the bottom corner that says,
go back to
that thing where
issue 37 from
says something to Iron Man about that time we were in that thing, and then it says in that down in the lower left hand corner, read Iron Man way back in Iron Man issue number 42 to remind you. And at least that gives you the starting point of I've got to go back and find issue number 42 of Iron Man.
Your entertainment is starting to become mature.
But you don't have that. You just have the reference to remember that time you and I did that thing, and you're like, wait, what? Is it, there's more that you need to know the story.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, I think there's a period, I think it's coming up soon. I think we're even starting to feel it a little bit where Marvel's going to be the first, Marvel's going to implode a little bit. I think Star Wars is too. There's a point where the characters do need to go away for just a little bit, just a little while. They need to take a bit of a rest.
I think we're all coming to, I feel like even though we had a little bit different points, I do feel like we're all starting to come almost to to the same conclusion that there's a lot that we have that if you really want to get the best out of these characters, there's a lot that you may have to invest going back.
And that's what I said before, is Star Wars suffering from the Marvel syndrome. It's like, oh, I want to jump in and watch Endgame. All right, so you have to watch these 25 other movies.
No, we did that. That happened to us last year or 2 years ago. There was one of the movies, I think I showed you Civil War. You and I were watching Civil War. Right. And the number of times during the movie where I had to stop and go, oh, right, you have to know this thing happened in Iron Man 3. Just nothing happened in Iron Man 3. But, you have to know that this thing happened in this Thor movie. Oh, you need to know that this thing happened in this movie. Oh, you've got to know, like the number of times I had to stop and explain to you.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was one. We watched, I think there were a couple of them, and I found, like, I said, oh, the only thing you need to know going into this one is this. And we got into the movie, and I was like, oh, no, wait, we also needed to see this one, this one, this one, and this one.
Yeah.
There are like 4 other Marvel movies I was supposed to show you.
Yeah, we've watched
I don't remember
them
it was,
all out of order.
I don't remember if it was Civil War or Ant-Man. I think maybe even both of them, where I just had to explain, like, so much to you. And it was like, you know what? If I were walking, you can't just walk in and watch Civil War. You need to go in. You can't just walk in and watch Endgame.
That's an issue,
Yeah.
You need to go back and you need to see Iron Man, 1, 2, and 3, and Avengers 1 and 2, and what homework do I need to do before I can watch WandaVision? What homework do I need to do before I can watch Winter Soldier and Falcon? What homework do I need to do? Actually, I think one of the reasons I liked Hawkeye, I needed to see Avengers.
That's it, one.
And that was it. And the one part and the thing in Avengers that I needed to see, they showed me right at the beginning. They spelled that out for me right at the beginning. You mentioned Cobra Kai earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good example, because I said that to somebody. I said, I want to watch Cobra Kai, but I haven't seen, because I've heard great things about it, I haven't seen Karate Kid in probably 25 years. Yeah. Probably even longer, probably closer to like 30 years. I haven't seen Karate Kid in 30 years. Do I need to rewatch the movie? And somebody said, it wouldn't hurt to watch it, but anything that you need to know, they give you. They spell that out for you. They, as you said, they flash back to the movie itself. They give you those flashbacks to sort of guide you along. And I think there is Marvel, very much with Marvel and a little bit with Star Wars. You need to, I said earlier at the top of the show, it's insulting to us that they need to hold our hand, and yet I feel like we're being held. I feel like they're holding my hand while I'm on the sidewalk, and then letting me run across the highway by myself.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not wrong.
I think no, Matt, and I think that's where we're all trying to get. I think there's a delicate balance that has to be walked in the line in order to please your hardcore people that have invested in your material, but in the same realm still be able to introduce people that they're not left out of the dirt.
Right.
It's a fine line they have to walk now with a lot of these shows, as if they're going to continue to build these universes where there's a lot of backtracking that you have to do. And maybe like you said, Matt, this is the reason why you bought Disney Plus. So maybe when you take that time to go watch it, maybe you hop into that series though. Again, I don't know if that's the if that is the strategy.
I'm gonna throw that back to you a little bit. I have a friend who doesn't watch Clone Wars, who's said he's tried to watch Clone Wars. He doesn't like the animation style. He can't get past the animation style.
I believe it.
I'm a little on it myself, to be honest. I can get.
It got better as the show went on.
I can get over it, but it took me a little while to warm up to it.
I grew up.
Fair enough, but he does not like the animation style and cannot stand the animation style. And I can almost guarantee you that he got to Cad Bane and was, as you said, Isaac, left out in the cold. Not because he doesn't, he has his own reason for not watching Clone Wars. Not that he's never gotten to it. He literally just he can't watch it. He can't sit through it.
And I feel like there could be a lot of other audiences that want to get into Ahsoka, how great of a character it is. But then if you, like you said, how you were doing with your daughter, if I got to explain to you, there's a lot of backstory that you really need to get into really invest in that character.
On Ahsoka, she explains more to me.
Wait, or you know what? I apologize. If your daughter has to sit there and explain the backstory to get into that character, that might be a little bit overwhelming for a person that really wants to get into that series.
That happened here on the podcast.
Yeah.
The three of us were talking when she was on
Last
Mandalorian.
time I was here,
We were talking about
that.
something. And we got to some. Matt turns to me and goes, "So what is this all about?" And I went, I have no idea. I have no idea. Emily, you're on. Yeah, and you rattled it right off. Actually, that was why I had you on, because Matt called me and said, you know more about Ahsoka than I do. You want to come on the show? And I went, I know nothing about Ahsoka. Can I bring Emily? Can I phone a friend?
This is back on episode 111.
Yes,
Yeah,
a nice shameless
111.
plug.
Yep, absolutely.
I think no, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think we got to try to wrap this up in terms of what we think. So I think overall, I guess in terms of overall, if we'll do a number grading, out of 1 to 10, and
Can I ask a quick question first?
Of course, yeah.
And you guys don't have to. Did any of you have a favorite episode, real quick?
Yes.
Number 6.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Episode 6. You know what? I would go episode 5. Was just because of how it was stylically. It was what I was hoping that the Book of Boba Fett would have been stylically shot in the way.
Even though it was more about Mandalorian.
Sadly, yeah.
No, but I agree.
Had nothing to do with Boba Fett.
I agree with you that 5 was what I was expecting. Only I was expecting it to be with Boba Fett, not Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Matt, get your favorite.
I'm going with Emily on this one, 6. I think out of all of them, it gave a strange enough, not about Boba Fett, but it gave us the most story in the way that it was presented. And it gifted us with so much everything in the way that it was shot and the way that it was presented. It was more like a shortened, instead of a 3-hour Star Wars movie, a 47-minute Star Wars movie, but it moved. The pacing was fantastic. The amount of story and exposition, just everything that they presented, and then linking so much in the universe together in this one episode, was just brilliantly done. And just I could easily go back and watch that one over and over again.
I see. For me, it's a toss up between. I guess I'm gonna lean towards 7 just because it actually had Boba Fett in it.
Yeah.
I liked that, but I liked 6. I felt was very sort of fan service. I really want one of those. I really want one of those dog droids that builds things.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
They're called androids.
So badly.
All right.
It doesn't even have to be like a toy one. Like a remote control one would be fun. One that actually did go out and did my yard work for me would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That's how you had children.
Yes.
You know what? It's funny that you brought that up. During Boba Fett, they always kept on showing this spider droid that kept going back with like that red ball in it.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, and whoever is Disney's really a marketing company, wouldn't it be great to maybe team up with an alcohol company with that? You sell that to me, I'm gonna buy that.
That is not where I thought you were gonna go with that.
Oh no, no, that's what I was thinking about. I'm thinking like, dude, man, maybe if there was bourbon in that, there was a liquor, man, how do you pour that out? That looking great, dude. And then it's a centerpiece. I was like, dude, I might jump on that. I mean,
that's how I got my fucking tauntaun.
I'm sitting here talking about possibly a cool remote controlled toy, something I can open up on Christmas morning.
Oh, really?
And Isaac's like, we can put alcohol in that.
That's what brings me my beer at night.
That's what dawned on me. It's like, instead of blood or whatever that is, it's like, yo, this is like bourbon or Hennessy. You take that out, you try to pour that in. He's like, that's great.
Can I ask? I got one more question for you, and this is a sort of fan service question.
Yeah.
What do you all think? Max Rebo, alive, dead, or just on Broadway?
Just on Broadway.
I'll go Broadway.
Because
Isaac doesn't even get the joke he's going.
I don't even get the joke, but I'll just run with it.
I apologize to everybody. That was an in-joke between Matt and I from like 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But the thing is that Max Rebo, I thought we see Max Rebo on the sail barge.
Yes.
The sail barge explodes.
Yes.
Max Rebo shows up again in a club, and they address him as Max. I think it's always assumed that it's Max Rebo, and then the club blows up. So my question to all of you: do you think Max Rebo is still alive?
No, I think
out
that was
there?
Max Rebo Jr.
You think it was okay? You think it was Max Rebo's son, or that like maybe maybe Max is like a first name to his people. Maybe Max is like a first name to his people, and it's just as common as like Johnson or Smith, only in his people, like he's like Smith Rebo. All right, so you think that's not Max Rebo, but his Max Rebo Jr. What do you guys think? Max Rebo, alive or dead?
Alive.
You think he's still alive?
I think he's kicking it. He's still kicking it.
Okay.
He kicked the bucket.
He kicked the bucket. She said kick the bucket. I said kicking it. She said kick the bucket.
Yeah, we've had characters get out of far worse.
Yeah.
Darth Maul.
See, well, we'll know when Disney Plus introduces Book of Max Rebo.
The Max Rebo series.
The Max Rebo series. I'm waiting for
on tour.
That actually would be cool. A Max Size Noodles and the Max Rebo Band TV series. I would actually watch that. That would be kind of fun, I think.
All right.
Sorry, we had a real question here. Are we rating the series now?
Let's rate the series.
Rate the series.
Okay, and then shut this thing down. Who wants to go first?
I think overall, I think Boba Fett, in my opinion, and if you were to just take out 5 and 6, which clearly seems to be our better episodes, if you were to just add those, I give it a 4. I give it a 4. I just think there was left to be.
4 out of
a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it just there was too much left in the table, not enough character development built around the characters that were introduced, and it just left a lot on the table. So I was very disappointed with the Boba Fett series overall.
Emily, you go. What do you think? Out of 10 stars, I guess.
I graded each one individually and then averaged it. Because
she is your daughter.
That's smart, actually. That's fair. That's fair.
Up the
I was wondering what you were doing on your calculator.
The decimal that I got, I gave it a 5 out of 10.
No, go give the full number. Read the full number there, because I love.
Okay. 4.714285714285714.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
10.0.
Could have just rounded it up, but
no death.
Oh God! Brilliant! I love you, guys. This is how we're doing. This is how we're rating all of the shows from now on.
Oh, Moon Knight, you're in for it.
And then average them.
It seems like a reasonable thing to do.
Matt, go ahead, because I'm going to need a minute. Oh God, that was funny.
I'm going to be generous and give it the highest score so far, and probably altogether. I'll drop it at a 7.
Wow.
Mostly because of the back end of it. 5, 6, and 7.
Gotcha. Interesting.
It really started off slow. It had me worried, but the back end of it really pulled the whole thing along. Episode 5, episode 6, episode 7. Again, I thought was a great conclusion. In pulling everyone together, and the fact that they did it on world in the town, good old fashioned Western showdown type of thing. I'm disappointed on how they treated Cad Bane, but I could justify it because it's like, how come you don't see him at any point in the future? Though you wonder why you still haven't seen like Fennec Shannon and stuff like that.
It was a story that needed to be told at some point. I just don't think you're right. You and Emily are both right. They could have told that story just a little bit better, and Isaac's right. Without that was a place where I think they needed to hold your hand just a little bit more, or just to bring him in. Not even speaking just as a fan of the character, just as a telling this story. You could have told a much better story if you had told the story of Boba Fett and Cad Bane. Yeah,
and I only got introduced to that character in Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So Bad Batch was my moment of like, who is this guy? did a quick little research, found out who he is, and like, okay, and moved forward on there.
And he does have
Like-
history with Boba, which would have been all right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like Hondo Ohnaka shows up in the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride. Okay, other than I know the brilliant Jim Cummings voices him, don't know who he is.
I want to see Hondo in live action so bad.
No. You're seeing Hondo in front of you.
I know, but I want to see Hondo. Hondo needs to be in. I wanted to see Hondo in Book of Fett, honestly.
Hondo?
Yeah.
I was.
In
And now
Right.
Isaac's going, who?
What's a Hondo Ohnaka?
Hondo
Yeah.
Ohnaka is a pirate
He's awesome.
Your
He's
turn?
absolutely awesome.
who's kind of a neutral. He captures Dooku, but then he also captures Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Hondo is always going to do whatever is in Hondo's best interest.
Yeah.
Hondo.
What is this he talking about? I do whatever I need to do to get ready.
And
I feel like Hondo talks in the third person. The way
He does. Hondo
does.
talks third person.
And name that sounds like Hondo sounds like a person who should talk in the third person.
Hondo, voiced brilliantly by Jim Cummings. For those who don't know, Darkwing Duck. What else? Matt, tell me here. What else is Jim Cummings? Everything.
Darkwing Duck, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. Like literally
Monterey Jack.
every Disney series from the 90s, Disney cartoon series from the 90s featured Jim Cummings at one point or other.
Awesome.
Ray
For gamer fans, what's the Minsk and Boo?
Yeah. Ray from Princess and the Frog. I mean, you name it, he's somewhere in there.
I can't think of
so
the game.
we
My wife
need
and kick me later.
we need your rating. You have to.
Oh, my rating?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it this. I think my opinion of it hasn't changed from our original rating when we talked about it 4 or 5 weeks ago. I'm gonna give it 2 spared Gamorrean guards out of 10 stars.
I was upset
can-
about the Gamorrean guards at the end.
And I think you can all you can decide whatever you think a spared Gamorrean guard is worth. Whatever star you think that counts. For Emily, apparently it counts as 2.37468225.
What's the square root of pi?
Gamorrean. Emily's got it on her calculator.
There
you go.
4156.
All right.
Okay. Right. All
one-
right.
One final question for everybody.
Okay.
And we'll let Emmy start this off, Isaac, Matt, and then I'll finish it off. Your MVP character from the series.
Oh.
Wow.
Who do you think is the most? Oh, come on! You're asking her who thought the best character in the series
I'm
was.
not gonna
Go
say
ahead.
Ahsoka.
Go for it.
To keep people invested, I would say Mando and Grogu, but I don't know.
That's rough. Wow.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think you're
Yeah.
wrong.
People wouldn't have come back.
You're
if
not
Mando
wrong.
and Grogu
No, I
and
think people-
Ahsoka and Luke.
I think.
We would have been more
I
disappointed.
think. I don't know what I think. I don't think people wouldn't have. I would have come back even if Mandalorian hadn't been there. But the fact that I didn't get excited about the series until
Yeah.
Mandalorian showed up,
Yeah.
That's a
that
problem.
you're right. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, Mandalorian was the suddenly more. Oh, this is suddenly a good show.
Yeah.
So you're not
Yeah.
you're not wrong. Isaac, your turn.
You know, I think it's just the fact that I might have to lean with you when Mando showed up is a big glaring issue with the series in general. You know, we can't really talk anybody outside of characters introduced in the Mandalorian. Yeah, I would have to go with Mando when he showed up in episode 5 and how stylistically he shot. Yeah, I can't go outside of that.
Yeah.
Every other character was so poorly underdeveloped. I can't go by under that, you know. So yeah, Mando.
My turn.
Yep.
Oh man, this is tough for me because I actually gotta say I realized one of my absolute all-time favorite actors does appear in the series, and I'm so thrilled that he's now part of even just a footnote in Star Wars. And for those who don't know, the brilliant Stephen Root, who used to be Jimmy James on News Radio, he's a fantastic actor. It wasn't until I saw his name in the credits and I had to go back and go, wait, where was he? Oh, of course, he plays like the farmer who comes in and is like,
I remember him. Yes.
people in town, they don't respect you.
Yep.
Remember
I'm so thrilled that he's now part of Star Wars, even if it's just a footnote. He's not my MVP, but I did need to shout him out. I love the little I love the little robot things that build. I want one. But really, if I had
MVP, the robot things that don't say it's MVP.
But really, no, my MVP, I'm gonna go with Fennec. I think she was a good character.
Yeah.
And I know there was a thing, I read a thing a few weeks ago where Tamora Morrison was saying he kept trying to like lift his lines onto her because he was actually trying to fight to keep the sort of Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood thing, the mystery of Mando. And he's like, no, I talk too much. Fennec should say this, Fennec should say that.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was Fennec who kills the Pikes and wins the day. She's really the hero of Book of Boba Fett. We need to address that.
No, if there were, it's weird because I feel like if it was just the Book of Boba Fett, again, taking out those 2 episodes, I would agree with you. Fennec would have been my MVP.
Right. And also, it was really cool to see Cad Bane.
Yeah.
And Cad Bane would have been my other character.
And
I just always
it was done. Cad Bane was done so well. It gives me hope to see some of the characters like Hondo Onaka and Zeb Orrelios and some of the weirder looking animated characters. I'm kind of hopeful to see now moving forward. But really, my MVP for the series, I'm going to go with Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
Matt, your turn.
I'm agreeing with you, Fennec Shand. It should have been the Book of Fennec Shand because she's the one that made a lot of the decisions, pushed Boba Fett forward. I absolutely love Ming-Na Wen, so she is just a joy to always watch on the screen or hear her voice.
We mention this every time, is that she holds the Disney Triple Crown.
Yeah.
She is Fennec Shand. She is Agent May, and she is a Disney princess. She's the voice of Mulan. So
also, can I also throw in just a small caveat? I think it was episode 4 where Boba Fett finds her in the desert and she has to get repaired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she gets repaired, notice the Asian kid that was in the corner. That's her son.
Oh, neat.
Oh, nice.
Oh, fun.
Yep.
That's cool.
I jokingly said on to someone else that in that episode what bothered me was that so Boba Fett's across the desert, he sees the explosion, there is trouble, I must get there, so he quickly jumps on the first Fanta he sees and slowly gets there and, as quickly as possible.
Silver!
Yeah.
3 days later, you're hurt.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right.
Time differences are a little weird in the show. But,
Panthers move a lot faster when cameras aren't in them in the desert.
Yeah.
But that aside, Fennec Shand, fantastic character. I love how they're growing that character from one episode in season 1 of The Mandalorian to becoming this, again, spectacular bounty hunter, and they're fleshing out her story more and more in different mediums. Again, she really carried the story all together in this series. For me, definitely Fennec Shand. Black Chrysanthemum would get my others receiving vote, and Danny Trejo as the Rancor Keeper. I was hoping to see him in episode 7. Sadly, no. And his spicy tacos. But, so there you have it. That is our wildly expanded upon thoughts of the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if I could say review anymore, but definitely our expanded thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett and
I think this was our appendices of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
There you go, Isaac. That's what we need. Is not the Book of Boba Fett. We need the appendices of Boba Fett, just so we know what's going on in the Book of Boba Fett.
You got the whole thing. Whenever you get encyclopedias. Encyclopedias kids were these collection of books, and they were alphabetized, and then you would have the appendix would be a separate book at the end that makes up for everything else that they didn't do or mention in all the other books. That's what the Book of Boba Fett should be. And I think we're all unanimous in that.
I agree.
Yes, we are.
Thank you again thanks for coming along. Isaac, Matt, thank you. And we'll have to do this again soon.
I look forward to it.
Totally looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Emily, Matt, and Isaac for joining me on this discussion about what was the Book of Boba Fett. its meaning for Star Wars, and just our general thoughts on everything. And again, I invite you, the listener, to join the conversation. Let us know what your thoughts of the Book of Boba Fett were, and what do you believe it holds or means for the future of the Star Wars sagas that are coming. Join the conversation on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Disney Marvels Podcast, or on Instagram at Disney Marvels Podcast, TikTok at Disney Marvels Podcast, and on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can catch audio feeds of the show, and as well as some other special bonus content that I have coming up real soon. You can also send us a voicemail message through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record it on your own electronic device, your computer, laptop, or phone, and email it along with any questions or suggestions you may have to DisneyMarvels@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the latest Disney Marvels blog at DisneyMarvels.blogspot.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. We over here at the Disney Marvels Podcast want to thank you very much for your time. We know how precious it is, and believe me, every time that we do a show, we think of the listeners and you, and I'm talking to you specifically, is what keeps this show going. And thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate you. We really, really are thankful that we get to spend this time together. You know, we're friends whether we've met yet or not. And help this show keep going. Let more people know about it. Share the links out on social media. Tell people about it. And if you particularly feel strong in the Force, being this is a Star Wars episode, go on to Apple Podcast or whatever podcast medium you're listening for, and leave a rating. We have all 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast right now, and it truly is amazing that this show means that much to that many people, and it keeps us going. 165 episodes, and we're still going away. It's still here. They haven't turned the lights off yet, so keep telling people, keep spreading the word, because Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Help the show out. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support. Or find our Patreon page, where you can get some cool little bonus stuff. You can also check out our merchandise shop. Get yourself some fun Disney Marvel things. Not just t-shirts and sweatshirts. Got coffee mugs, pillows, all sorts of different things. Make sure to check it out. Buy yourself something there. Support your show and get some cool things while you're at it. The link to all these are in the show notes as well. Because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever dark times seem to be troubling you, whatever is weighing you down and keeps you from being the best version of you, don't give up. Don't ever give up or think that you're not worth it, because, my gosh, you are absolutely worth it. You are special. There is no one else like you. There's a very good reason for that. Because you are irreplaceable. You mean a lot to certain people. And those people, sometimes they may not say it enough. Sometimes you just don't hear it. But never forget how wonderful and loved you are. And it's okay to ask for help. Never give up, never give in. Be your own hero. And keep going. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. "Crowded classrooms and half-day sessions are a tragic waste of our greatest national resource, the mind of our children." Again, that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everybody, and I'll see you next time.